My dearest viewers, welcome back. I wasn't sure I'd be able to get off of Path of Exile Mayhem event, but I made it to level 97 as a Juggernaut Righteous Fire build in 1 week, and I'm kinda done actually. Enough about me, because this week the biggest game of the year potentially released, but this channel isn't about those titles, so we're not covering that, we're just using it for a thumbnail. Let's see how that works out. No, on this channel we're focusing on more obscure, weird or simply great indie games. So it's time to dive back, as we do every week, into the beautiful world of indie games and see what happened this time. I have a few new titles, an absolute boatload of releases, but as always, we're starting with reveals. Here's a cyberpunk action roguelite, and I like the way this looks, so maybe put this on your radar. This is ArcRunner, not to be confused with Arc Raiders. ArcRunner is a vibrant game infused with heavy synth beats, which lets you choose from 3 heroes. You can of course get a bunch of upgrades, give them weapons, all that jazz. It looks pretty, I'll give them that, and the whole vibe they're going for here could work out very well. The game features co-op with up to 3 players, randomly generated levels and some solid looking action, at least in the trailer. No release date yet, but Steam says soon TM. Organs Please is a dark and satirical management sim where you take control of a recycling factory which recycles humans. That's not creepy at all. There's an ethical dilemma too, because your job is to decide who gets to escape our dying planet in a cozy spaceship and who sacrifices their blood, sweat and tears for humanity. The premise and title of this game remind me an awful lot of Papers, Please. So much in fact this can't be a coincidence, because in Papers, Please you decide who gets to enter the country. It has a bunch of moral dilemmas as well, and is widely regarded as a masterpiece. Organs, Please does sound a bit like a rip-off in that sense, and this isn't a sequel or anything. I checked, it's made by a completely different developer and the art style doesn't match either. On the other hand, you could say it just draws inspiration from the original game and turned this one into a more lighthearted, more colorful version. Whatever it is, the game still has my interest, but I do hope it is more than just a reskin of a more superior product. If you're a fan of NES 16 style JRPGs, then Chained Echoes might be something for you. This is a throwback to the good old days where Secret of Mana and Final Fantasy VI were some of the best the console had to offer. It seems, from all the information I can gather at least, that this is a solo dev project. It was kickstarted in 2019 and only Matthias Linda, a German developer I think, is working on this. Apart from the composer, who's also working on this, he's making this typical JRPG music. I'm not going to get into the story, but here are a few features, and the big one is that there aren't random encounters. To many people back in the day, random encounters were extremely annoying, so that's good news. The Steam page furthermore states 30 to 40 hours of playtime, fast-paced turn-based battles, tons of items to be looted, stolen or crafted, a complex skill and equipment system, you can customize your own airship, and the game has mechs for some reason. I guess that reason is the story. It all looks amazing. My only real concern here, I guess, is that it's made by one person, which seems like a tall order for a JRPG of 30 hours long. But hey, we'll see I guess on December 8th when this game releases. Then announcements. A game I've had my eyes on for a long time, and you know this if you've been following me. This is Dordogne, and it announced a release window spring 2023. This is one of the prettiest games I've seen in a while. Everything over here is hand painted using aquarelle pastel watercolors, which by itself is already super impressive. The Dordogne is a region in France named after a river, I think. I've been there many times myself actually as a kid, and this game lives and breathes the French countryside. Here's what Steam says about this. Dordogne tells the story of Mimi, a young woman in search of her childhood memories that she has mysteriously forgotten. Mimi explores a world between childhood and adulthood where one's desires and regrets echo lost dreams and fears. A nostalgic and heartwarming journey. This is a game from French indie studio Un Je ne sais quoi, which means I don't know what, and it's typically used as an expression of something that cannot be described, but is beautiful or pleasing nonetheless. It seems like an excellent name for a studio that is creating something so special as this game. I'm very excited about this one. It's going to be a true piece of gaming art, of painting expression, of something that cannot be properly described indeed, but should be a thrilling experience nonetheless. Another fantastic indie title by Daniel Bemergui, which could be French as well. This is Storyteller. You know this is good because it's published by Annapurna. That's like a game from Devolver. It's just some super high standards these people have and their games do not fail. The originality on this one is once again just stunning because, as you might expect, you are a storyteller and you need to put the proper people and situations in small cartoon-like stories in order to complete the storyline at the top of the page. It doesn't get much simpler than that. It's a puzzle game that revels in simplicity, but bathes in beauty at the same time. This looks like tons of fun due to the great animations, which are sure to put a few smiles on your face while giving you the satisfaction of solving the story. Once again, I'm very excited. Sign me up. The release is March 23rd, 2023. Not so exciting is the next one, unfortunately. We haven't heard from this game in a while, but apparently it is still going somewhat strong because there's a new trailer out and you're watching this. I'm talking about Sanctum Breach Rebirth, the relaunched early access game by Sam Keats. This is a solo dev hack and slash hardcore ARPG project. Now, looking at this, under normal circumstances, a trailer should market the game, you'd think. You might wonder what happened here then. Well, as I own this game and I've played it for 4 hours recently, I can tell you this is indeed how the game looks and plays. On the one hand, I don't want to shit on solo dev games because it must be hard and the guy got screwed over by his publisher last year, which is why he is in this situation in the first place, and I sympathize with the whole story and history here. However, on the other hand, I want to be honest to you, my audience, watching these videos every week and perhaps taking my advice on games every now and then. As an ARPG veteran myself, I can safely say this is not a good game. The scope of this thing is way too large for a single developer to pull off. The game runs like ass. The graphics look like ass too, just like in this trailer. And although Sam stated the graphics are intentional, it is also 2022 and I'm simply not buying into the whole retro look here. Sanctum Breach Rebirth is listed for €20 on Steam in early access, which is way overpriced, and I'm not sure how this is ever going to get anywhere, to be honest. This game is not worth $20, 10 at most, and that's when you're being generous and want to support solo dev projects like this one, hoping one day it actually turns into something decent. Now, as per usual, I will keep tracking it and I will keep reporting on this, and maybe one day the game is actually playable, but that day is not today, and this trailer is a painful reminder of that. On the other hand of this spectrum, we have Path of Exile, that's very playable, and they announced the topics they'll be writing manifestos about. The topics are Jewels and Ailment Mitigation, Curses, Eldritch Altar Revamp, Arch Nemesis, plus potentially a fifth post about other changes if needed at the time. Speaking of potentially, this is potentially very scary news with the recent way the game has been changed over the last couple of leagues. You can't possibly fuck up Arch Nemesis even more than it is today, so that manifesto should be good, I guess. But Eldritch Altar's rework, I mean, those are completely fine and super fun. Why would you change something like that? I'm a little scared. And Jewels and Ailments Mitigation, that can really go two ways. It's either going to be easier to get it because it's pretty much mandatory at this point to get ailment immunity, or they're going to make it harder by, for example, splitting up elemental ailment immunity into specific fire, cold and lightning stuff. Let's hope not. Or mess with purity of elements. We will see, I guess. All of this is happening in the next month before the next league drops early December. Warhammer 40k Inquisitor Martyr, the very solid ARPG hack-and-slash game, gets a DLC update on November 28th of this year, the Sororitas class. That is a playable class with 3 subtypes, a lot of fire to cleanse the heretics. You can transform into an embodied saint with massive wings, and this might be just the reason you need to do another run in this game. Or start at all, because it's pretty good and fleshed out at this point. And be aware, you do need the base game for this though, clearly. If any of these games look interesting, be sure to wishlist them, it helps the devs out a lot. And similarly, please subscribe to the channel and like the video, that helps me out a lot. Proceeding with the patch Plaza, bringing an overview of patch news. I'm going to put a DLC in here, the one I talked about recently. This is Steelrising's Cagliostros Secrets. People are not too impressed about this one. I listened to a Fextra live review. He mentioned that the DLC brings some interesting new enemies, but not much else, and it's only 2 hours long apparently. The price point, 15 euros over here, doesn't match really the length of the DLC, and Vextra Life advised to pick it up on sale for like $5. Steam reviews echo this sentiment, with so far only half of the available reviews being positive. Roguelite City Builder Against the Storm released their bi-weekly update, Secrets of Scarlet Orchard it's called. It brings the Scarlet Orchard visual revamp, a Scarlet Orchard unique biome mechanic, a new building, the Archaeologist's Office, which allows you to excavate old ruins for buildings that provide perks and bonuses, a new Citadel upgrade, community-inspired changes, and the game is available on GeForce Now these days. There's this beautiful JRPG developed by a French studio, and somehow this sentence alone gets people really upset, but I don't care because this is Edge of Eternity and this is a great game, and they've added a new Game Plus mode. On top of that, the latest patch brings an auto battler mode, which would be fun in a turn-based combat game, I think. I don't mind that when you're grinding out a bit, that these things are resolved automatically. I wouldn't use it against bosses though, but you know. There are 2 new modes available, Big Head mode for fun and Mirrored mode, mirroring the world so it feels fresh. Not sure you'll be fooled that easily, but hey, you might. ARPGs do it all the time. Also, the devs added weather stones, which allows you to change the weather. Cool update, cool game. You should really check this one out if it's on sale or something. It is a small gem as far as I'm concerned. And if you're interested in more small gems or Steam Deck games that I recommend, make sure to follow me as a curator on Steam. I created lists for that to help you guys out. Link is in the description below. Striving for Light dropped another patch, the Eodra update. This fun and unique ARPG early access game is doing really well lately, and this patch brings a brand new arena mode with waves of enemies. The patch adds some new skills, mainly focusing on constructs, which then attack for you, not unlike ballistas in PoE for example. There's one new weapon, the Searing Axe, which for some reason doesn't ignite but bleed. There's a new intro cinematic, new voice acting, new story content, a new dialogue system, fixes for controller and Steam Deck, a companion rework with them having higher movement speed, and lastly a new season, Season 5. Then, releases. Looking back at what released last week, I missed this one for some reason, but Soulstone Survivors released into early access. The Vampire Survivors game spawned an entire Survivors subgenre with many clones in the making, but this one is worth it. I played the demo, that was a lot of fun, and with more than 2000 Steam reviews scoring it an 88%, it is a big success already. It's only 10 euros. The Unliving, the Necromancer early access indie game, is less successful. Reviews are mixed, 59% on Steam, with reviews pointing out it's too pricey, the AI of the summoned minions is too broken, and the game is too alpha. And not the male kind of alpha, more like the game state kind of alpha. So sit this one out, because it goes for 17 euros at the moment, and that doesn't seem like a good deal. Astro Colony, a space management sim with a hint of Factorio in there, has the same price point, but a much higher rating at 81% user score on Steam. This early access game is doing really well, it seems. Then another early access, City Builder, Land of the Vikings. It released for 20 euros and the audience likes it so far with an 80% user rating on Steam. Robo Legend, a twin-stick shooter RPG where you blast your way through hordes of crazy robots, released for 8 euros, but there are no reviews yet, so I don't think this game is doing too well, unfortunately. Colony Sim Lords and Villeins left early access. It is now in full release for 25 euros. This is a colony sim and recent Steam reviews are at a 71% user rating. A weird one, Fabular, a Souls-like roguelike space game where you are a spaceship with swords on it as well. It dropped for 15 euros, it's early access and people are rating it with a 78% so far. Commonhood, the community building and designing game, very interesting but not very good, it seems, because this 21 euro game sits at a mixed 49%. The promised co-op turned out to be not really co-op at all, just a space where you can design stuff together, but you can't play the game co-op otherwise. There are tons of bugs, building is weird and unintuitive, prices are off of the materials and everything, it's just a bit of a mess, I'm afraid. A really cool concept, this one, but so far poorly implemented. The biggest issue might be, however, that this isn't even an early access game, it is a full release, so it remains to be seen what the devs are going to do about it. Let's look ahead at what is releasing this week, and there are so many games releasing. I'm going to try and keep this somewhat short, but wish me luck. Starting November 14th, Flateye, a resource management sim with an emphasis on story and narrative choices. You can oversee the world's leading technological hub while you explore stories linked to discoverable technology and interact with your most loyal customers. Also, November 14th, you can fight and strategize your way through spectacles and arenas, rise from a lowly slave to grand champion and earn your freedom, or die trying with Gladiator RPG roguelite We Who Are About to Die. This game features in-depth career management and a unique physics-simulated combat system. One day later, November 15th, it's Absolute Madness, starting with Absolute Madness itself in Bendy and the Dark Revival, a first-person horror survival game set in the creepiest cartoon studio to ever exist. Discover the truth, escape the studio, above all, fear the ink demon, and survive. Next, a city builder from, I believe, China releases called Ballads of Hongye. We see plenty of indie city builders, but over here we don't get a lot of those from the East. I'm not really sure how excited you should be for this particular title, as I can't find much proper footage. I guess we'll see next week when the reviews are in. Then Floodland, a society survival game set in a world destroyed by climate change. Wonder where they get the inspiration for this one. Explore, scavenge and build a city to unite the clans. Conflicting cultures and limited resources mean you need to make tough choices. Have you got what it takes to lead your people into a new era of humanity? I don't know. Seems we're unable to in this world at least, but maybe you can pull it off in-game. That's something, I guess. Somerville, a piece of art, I feel, where in the wake of catastrophe you must find the means to make your family whole again. Somerville is a sci-fi adventure grounded in the intimate repercussions of a large-scale conflict. Small note, this game only works with a controller. Still on this same day, we have Edengate, The Edge of Life. You are Mia Lawrenson. You wake up in an abandoned hospital full of questions about what happened to you and the world around you. Expect an interactive experience reflecting on feelings of uncertainty, isolation and hope in the face of devastation. Bravery and Greed is a beat-em-up roguelite dungeon brawler for up to 4 players. Choose from 4 classic fantasy classes, engage in a deep, robust combat system, and play a variety of cooperative and competitive game modes with friends via local, online, or both. Get rich or die trying. Some 50 cents in there, that's always good. Then a black gemstone from Obsidian Entertainment with Pentiment. Step into a living, illustrated world in a time when Europe is at a crossroads of great religious and political change. Walk in the footsteps of Andreas Mahler, a master artist who finds himself in the middle of murders, scandals and intrigue in the Bavarian Alps. Still November 15th, we can enjoy top-down twin-stick shooter and solo dev project Zero Sievert. Zero Sievert is a tense top-down extraction shooter that challenges you to scavenge a procedurally generated wasteland, loot gear and explore what's left of a devastated world. People are very excited about this one, myself included. This could be excellent. We just discussed 8 games releasing all in a single day, and then 2 days later we got 3 more, starting with an epic exclusive, Goat Simulator 3, there is no part 2 by the way. Gather your herd and venture forth into Goat Simulator 3, an all-new, totally realistic multiplayer sandbox farmyard experience. If you're unaware of this game, this is not to be taken literally. This is not Farmville. Same day, Frozen Flame releases into early access. This is a challenging exploration and survival adventure set in the dying world of dragons. Only those who harness the power of Frozen Flame have the means to survive the harsh conditions of their realm. I played this for a bit in the demo. It's a pretty decent game. It's got some building, crafting, combat. Not sure what new stuff it brings, to this genre, but still curious to see how it will do. And then finally, Organs Please releases. We already discussed that one. Talking Steam Deck and demos, which I normally do, but hey, I've only played Path of Exile, the Mayhem event, so we're moving on here to the final section, free games. Epic has Alba, a wildlife adventure for free. This is a single-player handcrafted game where you need to save local wildlife in a Mediterranean setting. They also give away Shadow Tactics, a hardcore tactical stealth game. Looks quite a bit like Commandos, but then in feudal Japan in the good days of old. Uncle Phil from Game Pass has 3 titles, starting with Football Manager 2023, if you're into that. We have Return to Monkey Island, the latest installment in the series, and finally a new 40th anniversary edition of Flight Simulator, but I would not be able to tell you what is new or particularly interesting about that one. On the other hand, if you're into Flight Simulator games, you probably already know. And with that, we've reached our final destination of another packed episode. Because that's it. If you have any questions or remarks, please put them in the comments below. I do read all of those. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did and you want more like this, consider liking the video, that really helps, or subscribe. Thanks for watching and making it to the end. Love you all. See you soon. Bye bye.